My name is Melissa Tosetti, and this is...
I'm Kevin Gibbons.
And we are with The Savvy Life, and we're starting our show just a few minutes early because this is a live streaming session that's supposed to start at the top of the hour. Just gives people a chance to log in and to join us and get all set.
Find out that we're out here.
Yeah, exactly. So what we like to do in this first, couple of minutes before the top of the hour is what we call our pre-show, and we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. Although we talk about money a lot.
Well, that's kind of our job.
It's kind of our job.
And our fascination. So kind of
yeah, exactly. So, but also one of the things we wanted to mention today is if you do typically join us live, we actually have not had a live show for the last 2 weeks. And the reason is because we've been working. So we, in addition to working one-on-one with clients, the other thing that we do is we actually go in and we teach financial advisors our system of cash flow planning. We do a presentation called The Power of Cash Flow Planning.
And so this is done live at the advisor's facility.
Yeah, or different financial planning associations or organizations, their chapter meetings. And so 2 weeks ago, I was in Colorado Springs doing an event there, and kind of the fun part is you get to travel. And it was a place I had been wanting to go to for a very long time. And while I was there, I went to a place called the Garden of the Gods. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of that.
I was lucky because it was within about 15 minutes of where I was speaking, but it's just these various rock formations that you can, drive all around. And I realized as I was driving around, it was beautiful, and we were going slow enough that I could responsibly take pictures from my driving, from driving. It demonstrated to me how much Disneyland has ruined me, because as I was driving through, I felt like I was in Colorado Springs. Oh God, what's the from the movie Cars where it's set? Of course, 1,000 people are screaming at their screens right now because they know Radiator Springs.
Radiator Springs.
Yeah, I felt like I was driving around Radiator Springs, and it just demonstrates like what a gorgeous job Disney does in their cartoons, because it looks exactly the same.
So, interesting tidbit about that. You can actually find most of these inspirations for Radiator Springs all throughout the United States. Disney actually sent animators all over the country looking for sites, taking photos, and pretty much everything that you see in Radiator Springs is very closely based upon a real place.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the buildings, like the gas station and the restaurants and stuff, those are based off of real gas stations and restaurants. You can go there and look at it and go, this looks exactly like it does in Radiator Springs, because Disney sent crews out there to photograph it, to map it, and to translate it over. So
I imagine a lot of that is along Route 66.
Actually, a lot of it was not. It was even more obscure.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, that's easy.
Yeah, so that was fun. So, you get to do a big swing by. And then last Thursday was speaking at a similar event, Financial Planning Association of the Central Valley, which is in my hometown of Fresno. So that was all kinds of awesome. So I left here at Bay Area at 6 in the morning. Conveniently, my mother still lives in Fresno. She made me breakfast while I put my makeup on. Thanks, Mom. And it was just, it's always fun to go back to your hometown as an expert in what it is that you do. It's like, there's some pride there, and people ask me, well, what high school do you go to?
Yeah.
There's just a little more depth of community there than you would get if you were speaking in some, kind of some random place. So that was very, very fun. I always love going back to Fresno and hanging out with folks and meeting new people. It's a big community. We always think about Fresno as a very small community in the Central Valley of California.
I think it's the fourth largest city in California.
I think so.
It's a big city.
Yeah. One of the other things we were talking about too is that, it is a farming community, but there's a tremendous amount of wealth in Fresno or in that community, the surrounding areas, Madera, et cetera. So that was fun. So got to hang out with folks, talk about money.
Yeah.
It was good. But I really, really missed this.
I was going to say, now you get to be back here and hang out with folks, talk about
money.
So it all works out. All right.
It's all good. And hanging out with you too. I haven't seen you in 2 weeks.
It's been kind of interesting
to see you.
Be flying solo for a while.
Yeah. We work in our individual offices, so we talk constantly,
multiple times per day, but we only see each other once or twice a week when we actually get together. So
and then we see you guys. Yeah. Now with that, it is the top of the hour. It's 3:00 our time, and if you're just joining us for the first time, and Mr. Preshow, my name is Melissa Tosetti. This is
I'm Kevin Gibbons.
And we are the owners of the Savvy Life, which is we focus on people's day-to-day personal finances. We help them find balance between saving money for their future selves while enjoying their lives right now. So that's what we do. And we also have the show where we talk about all things surrounded around that. And the topic for today is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And I realize that I say that almost every single time that we get together, but they all are. This topic I want to talk about is on social spending. Okay, so we'll talk another time about keeping up with the Joneses. But right now I want to talk about how very often in our days we are influenced by other people in the ways that we're spending our money.
Mm-hmm.
You get an invitation from somebody to go out for drinks after work, right? Yep. So now somebody's influencing you spending your money. That's wonderful. I mean, that's great that you're getting these invitations. Yeah, absolutely. But it can get to an extreme, right? You have a vacation that you've been planning for and you've been wanting to do, but you get invited by somebody else to go on a different vacation. We only have so much vacation money. So you've got to make some decisions, and sometimes we not only get influenced, but we get pressured to spend our money in different areas. Have you had experiences like that?
Definitely. And it's, again, the going out to dinner and drinks thing can really be dangerous for a lot of reasons. At least in California and the San Francisco Bay Area, an average non-fancy run-of-the-mill cocktail will run you $10 to $12, maybe $15. All right. Designer drinks can cost $18 up to $20 a piece. So it doesn't take very many drinks before you've gone through $100. And if you're with a social group, it really starts getting the whole thing of like, oh, let me get this round. Let me get this round. That's, if you have 5 people, that's $60 to $100 a shot.
Right.
And again, you buy 2 rounds, you just spend $120. And that's really, buying 2 rounds of drinks is not that unreasonable, that unusual for a night drinking. Yeah. And it can get more. Tell you a related story on this of that impact. When my wife and I got married, we had our rehearsal dinner. And the best, not the best man, your husband was the best man. Well, one of the groomsmen offered the suggestion. He said, Kevin, you pay for the dinner, I'll pay for the alcohol. And I grabbed that right away.
Smart man.
And he started, doing the social thing and ordering bottles of wine and stuff. He ended up spending more on the alcohol bill for our rehearsal dinner than I spent for the dinner.
Yeah.
And, we had a great time and all, but why did he spend that much money?
Yeah.
He loves us, and he's a wine connoisseur, and I appreciate that. But part of that also, it's very easy to fall into that social spending trap of, oh, I need to do this. Now, do I think he did that? No, he really does enjoy wine.
And it was a very special occasion. Yeah.
But you have to be careful because that can easily happen. Yes.
So that there's a bit of a bleed in this particular topic with social spending and the people that have gift giving in their DNA, and that there is almost a primal urge to pick up the tab, to be the person to pick up the tab. And
I used to do that.
Right, and it's because you're a gift giver. It's not. Sometimes it's social. It's like, oh, my dad always did that, so I'm going to do that. But we've worked with a lot of folks over the years and talking to them, how do you make that shift? And it's not necessarily easy. Sometimes it's also a control. It's a bit of a control thing, not to be, armchair psychologist, but it is.
It's a little bit of showing off.
Yeah.
I make so much money, I can do this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
My problem is that my over the years, my friends developed expensive tastes, and suddenly that turned out to be a pretty big contribution. So it's a whole lot better to split the bill fairly.
Right. Yeah. So that's some of the struggles, and then some of the other struggles too is when it gets very negative. There's negative pressure, and let me give you an example. And I often hesitate telling this story because it unfortunately did not end well. Learn from me on how to maybe do it better. My husband and I had friends that were they made more money than we did. We ended up doing a lot of really fun experiences with them. We traveled with them. We had one of the best vacations of our lives with them. But they had a different level of lifestyle than what we had. And about this time, about 2 years into this relationship, Paul and I started making the decisions like, look, we live in a 600 square foot, 1-bedroom house that we own. We want to have a family. We need to add on. So we need to start getting serious about starting to save money so that we can do the construction changes. We need new cars. There was just things that we wanted to do, our own agenda. And over a period of time of a couple of months, we said no to a couple of invitations to these friends. We tried to adjust. And I remember there was one specific time where I got invited to dinner, and I said, you know what? And I stated, this is what we're trying to do. So gave them the reasons why. And I said, but I'd love to go with you. If you want to have dinner, I'd love to go with you. And I'll have coffee. We can, walk around and look around and everything. Because she wanted to go shopping as well. And during dinner, I've never been more uncomfortable in my life of the way that I was treated almost viciously about just having coffee. Like, she had dinner and I was just having coffee. She just made such a big deal about it to the waiter. And I was actually kind of proud of myself because I wasn't embarrassed at all. It was like, no, I have an agenda.
You made a decision. Yeah.
I have an agenda. You're the one who's being uncomfortable about this. And it was this. So, little aside, I'm not a confrontational person whatsoever. And I had this running thing for a while that anytime that I actually stood up for myself, I was going to get a vertebrae tattooed on my back, on my spine. Like I was growing a spine. And I got about 3 vertebrae during that particular meal. And again, this is a very, very extreme case. But to demonstrate really the reason why I'm so particularly passionate about this topic, I realized in about that span of about an hour that it really was, she was the one that was uncomfortable. This relationship wasn't going to work anymore. And sometimes you outgrow relationships. We had a path, and I knew that it was always going to be a fight anytime I said no. Yeah. And I don't know that I necessarily handled the ending of that particular friendship very well. I have a lot of regrets around doing that. It's never an easy thing to do, but it was hard, and it's very, very relative to this particular experience. Now, the reason that I hesitate telling this story is because you don't have to end your friendships. Yeah. Not at all. It was just this particular person, and I think that they were going through their own things at the time. So that's the whole thing too, is you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, yeah. Right? That is the end of that particular story. But on the flip side, I have 20 closest friends that we bury bodies for, that we all get it. Yeah. And we all have, we have a similar agendas of what it is and how we want to spend our money. And there is a respect around that. And so it has a happy ending.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. I think that another way that you can look at it also is, this is a little bit, it's kind of taking things to extreme, and I am certainly not belittling the challenges that the group that I'm going to talk about go through, but it might just help to relate a bit. In a way, it's kind of similar to somebody who is addressing alcoholism, being around friends who drink, yeah. and the whole idea of, you wouldn't go to somebody who has, if a friend or a family member of yours has said, look, I'm an alcoholic, I'm in a program, I'm trying to stop drinking, you wouldn't go to them and say, oh, come on, just have a drink with me. It's, only one won't hurt you. Most people will admire the person for making this change, yeah. and help them. It's like, look, I am not going to stop drinking. If that makes you uncomfortable, we'll figure out what to do on this. But I am certainly not going to pressure you. I'll make sure when we get together, we have non-alcoholic drinks, and we'll go ahead and do things, and we'll be support.
Yeah.
It's, again, I don't want to belittle the struggles that alcoholics go through, but it's still kind of the same idea of, if you have an agenda for your money and your friends don't support that and support you, you really need to look at what's going on, because we should support each other. We all have different ideas on what we want to do with our money. We should be able to support that and embrace that and adapt to it. It isn't that big of a deal to say, okay, I understand, we're not going to go to the expensive restaurant. Hey, we're going to go to this restaurant every week. If you choose to only make it once a month,
right.
Great. We'll be really glad when you're there. We won't feel offended that you're not there the other 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we'll go ahead and do this. There are ways to make that work if you value the social situations.
Susie Orman, that is one of the greatest lessons that I learned from her. And I think I heard it rather than I read it in one of her books, was just, if you have a goal that you're working towards and it's financial, be honest with people. Don't lie. Be honest with people about what it is that you are trying to do.
Understand.
And if they don't, then maybe it's time to just create a little bit of distance, right? Just a slow distance. So that's one option. Another option, I know for a long time, it was a big struggle. You get a big group of people coming together and you go to a restaurant and it seems like everybody's paying 5 times over for what they would have if they were able to get an individual bill. And one of the things that I actually learned from our friend Sierra is the idea of using PayPal to right then and right there. Well, if one person runs the card, they want to get the points or everything and they run their card instead of somebody saying, oh yeah, I'll pay you back. And that person honestly forgetting or trying to keep track or whatever, just as everybody's sitting at the table, they're Venmoing or PayPaling money. Yeah. That's one of the times that I'm actually a fan of banking technology. So, that's one particular option because I do know it would seem like every time that we would all get together, it just felt like, but that person didn't have a cocktail and it wasn't fair. And this just makes those experiences, knowing that you're going to be able to do that at the end of the day, just so much easier. Yeah. Right?
It's a lot easier to do that because you can then transfer the exact money you want rather than figuring out, okay, you owe $14, you owe $12, you owe $19. Well, I have a 20. Can you break the change? No, I can't do that. Yeah. And that can just get to be a hassle. So that really is a good way. So I think that it's worth it to really discuss some of the specific tools for helping deal with social spending. And I think that one is a critical one. I think the idea of really being honest and open with your friends as to what your purpose is with your money and what your goals are in this regard. It's like, no, I don't want to go spend $150 on dinner this week because I'm saving money for other stuff. Right. You don't even have to say what it is if you don't want to. Just, I have to, that's outside of my budget. Here's what I can afford. If we can do this, I'm happy to go do this stuff. If it's more, okay, I'll catch you next time around.
So there's something also pretty powerful about that. And I want to actually say pretty damn powerful about that. In that, I think a lot of us spend a lot of time and a lot of energy just trying to be helpful and open and, part of the group. It's, we've got an amazing, wonderful group of friends. I'd never want to disappoint anybody, but there is something about standing up and just saying, look, I've got a different agenda and I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side, or I'll catch you on the next one. We had about a year after we went to Italy, half of our group, or about a third of our group, all decided that they wanted to go to Iceland. There was a really great deal through Groupon. And, I thought about it for a couple of minutes and realized, or actually it wasn't more than a couple of minutes because Paul and I talked about it. And it was just a bit off of our agenda. It was a bit off of what we wanted to do in the order we wanted to do it in, because Iceland's been on Paul's list forever, way before it got popular. It got popular. It sounded so standoffish. I didn't mean that to sound like that. But everybody was really cool with it, and those who went had an amazing time. And
they didn't hold it against us.
Didn't hold it against us. And we caught them during a big President's Day weekend that all 20 of us get together. So it was all really good. And for some reason my battery is running low. So as Kevin continues this conversation, I'm going to make sure my phone is plugged, or my thing is plugged in.
Okay. So the real key on that again is understanding what your friends are looking for, what and what you want out of both a social relationship and your financial relationship, and they should understand all that.
So I think we've wrap that one up. I think the only other thing to talk about is just the tool of, in those dining experiences with a large group, of being able to use PayPal or Venmo or one of those things, and right then and right there to go ahead and settle the bills. So then you're done and you've paid your share and you're good to go.
So the other thing that I will recommend is social spending. In those situations, it is very, very easy for the money to run away from you. So when you go into these social situations, you have to set your limit and say, I'm going to go do this, and I have this amount of money to spend, and I am not going to spend any more. And make your decisions. So I'm going to get this. I'm not going to get an appetizer because I'm going to get this entree, and I want these. I want this dessert. I'm going to get these drinks. And if people start saying, "Oh, come on, let's have another course," it's like, nope, I'm good. You have to stick to that, because that social pressure, even if it's not intentional or malicious, even if it's good-natured, even if it's subtle, it'll blow that out of the water for you. And
in the moment.
And there's no reason that has to happen. People, again, good friends will understand. And to be honest, if they don't, Too bad. You have an agenda for your money, and that's important to you. So stick with it.
I don't that they're not good friends. And again, I want to be very careful about this being like your friends are terrible. This is not that conversation.
Some people don't get it.
Yeah, it just gets you really thinking about that. So with that, wrapping up that particular topic, now we're going to go to topic number 2, or part 2 of this conversation, which is related to it, and that's this concept of keeping up with the Joneses.